versus tarot or Lenormand. It's just really a more softened view of what does the person. I like to see someone grow in their intuition, and that's I feel like I'm a bit of a proud mother of God knows how many people around, to see them grow into it and in their own way, which is really nice.
And I do as well. I've been I've had your cards for a few years, and when I came back this year, one of the first places I was right in your tea group.
Yeah, you did. So, but it's just, not so structured. I think that's a nice thing. It's like go with the flow. So,
and it is. It's more intuitive.
It sounds tongue-in-cheek, but it literally means tea is literally fluid, and so it does allow you to open up what you want.
Yeah, I know Sula, who's currently in chat, mentioned that the meanings that we give to the symbols are limited pretty much only by our own life experiences.
Exactly.
So the more experiences you have, the more meanings that, we can give to certain symbols. I don't ever look at the mermaid as, the devil with the blue dress. I see it as the enticing and the alluring. But on the spiritual side, I also see it as, a divinity, the spirit of the ocean, whether it be, Yamaya, La Sirene, whether it's, the Selkies, because that's another branch, in almost all of history, there was some type of mer folk, whether they were fish bodies, whether they were, the Selkies with the seal skins, there's a lot of different lure.
There's a lot.
Behind the actual mermaids.
Yeah, but you can also mean too, it might be somebody, you might have a house and a couple other things near it, and like if you had like a house and a mermaid and a castle, for instance, and person's looking at their question about property, literally that would tell me go to a place where there is a larger body of water, whether it's seaside or whether it's a lakeside, and the tower would indicate either high on a hill or a double-story or high-rise type housing. So, they take on many forms. But it's like moon, everybody, and this is where it's trying to get people a little bit out of the tarot brain or the Lenormand brain, as in like what a castle or a tower means and what does a moon mean and things like that as well, because it's like remove the restrictions of a Lenormand card as a moon.
Okay, so we're going to take a short break. I'm going to play a little bit of music. We'll come back in about 3.5 minutes, and we will resume.
Thank you. I'll have that. Linus just brought me in another cup of tea, so how good am I? I'm extremely spoiled.
There's nothing wrong with spoiled. So bear with us, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Todas las flores y entonarán los cantores
welcome back. So,
hey,
you're back with us? Okay. So I want to give a shout out to some of the people in our chat group. We have Wilma Berman, Mel Bright, Lucky Lynx, Owen Ballard, Erica Robinson, of course Sula, Dre. We also have Tanya Massage Diva Jones of Divinity Diva. I want to thank you all for joining us here today with Karin, Dalton-Smith.
That's so wonderful to see.
I love all these people. They come and they join us. And don't forget, Terry Smith is also here.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so pleased to see them all here.
So you run a Facebook group for Tessiomancy.
Yes.
Okay. So what is it that you help people do and help people learn in there?
I created the group. It was really out of necessity because I'd sold so many cards and so many people needed an avenue, I suppose, of further learning and swapping hints and tips and things. So I created the group mainly to start out with was for people who already had cards and charms. So we started off very small. It's starting to grow now. I think it's getting close to 700 members now. I'm not sure. I'd have to double check that. And the main purpose was teaching and people learning about tea leaf reading. So we look at it, and I called it Teacups, Cards and Charms. And it was with that all three forms where people can learn and experiment. So, and I've got some videos in there like how they prepare a cup if they don't have cards or charms. So it's really a learning group to do it. We're quite strict on it not being a free reading group. That is one of the big no-nos because there's lots of free reading groups. So people who just post up a cup and say, what does this tell you? That's we don't do that. It's mainly about, have a go at it. And that's our biggest thing. It's not scary. Just have a go. And then lots of more experienced members chime in and help and assist, which is wonderful. And I'm very fortunate. I've got a fabulous team of moderators, admin behind me, and I've got Laura Diaz, and I've got Andrea Jacob, and I've got yourself, and I've got Kay Vickery. And without you guys keeping an eye on things in the background, it wouldn't be as successful as it is. So it's quite nice to see the growth, and it's expanding more and more every day, which is really lovely to see. But it's mainly about let's learn all things tea. So
right, and that's what I like about it. It's all learning. People can do their posts about certain questions or post a spread, but we always encourage people to try and read their own first before we chime in. We give them a lot of information as well as files and meanings of the different cards, and everybody puts their own take on it. My readings are never like everybody else because I see things completely different, but,
Yeah, but the beauty of that, though, is there is no wrong. And I think that's what's important. It's like, yours might sound really left field, but it's allowing the person then to look and think, oh, I didn't think of that.
And, that's one of the biggest things that I do. A lot of times I'll post things out in left field specifically because I want people to get out of their own headspace and think a bigger picture. It's just like...
Yeah. Well, I know Saula's like you as well. That sometimes it looks totally left field, but it makes people open their eyes and say, okay, didn't expect that, and things like that. And it's just so people get out of that stuck mindset to say, well, yeah, that is an option, and that is another run of course. So cards, like I said, you've got the 45 up to 54 cards, and when you look at the combinations, it's endless. I then, like I said, tea leaf reading charms I've had out for a few years as well, and again, it's nothing new. tea leaf reading charms, they actually stem back from like the 20s, 30s, and people would actually bake them in a cake. And again, I've got original sets from the old days, and you would put anything from 5 to 10 in a cake. So say you had your round cake, you'd place them in the batter all around the outside edge of the cake, and you'd wrap the little charms in parchment. And so when that cake was cooked, people would cut the cake wedges, and someone would break open and get their charm, and that would be their fortune. It's a common custom, actually, that's still done in parts of Portugal and throughout Europe, where they may do it on New Year's Eve, so a fortune for the year ahead for people. Not many now do it. I think it's like you either break your teeth, massive dental bills, or you could choke. The old charms, it's quite hilarious because the old ones were often made with lead. And when you think about putting a lead in a hot oven, probably a gas oven, pretty toxic combination there, but it's what they did. So,
well, maybe they wanted to get rid of certain family members.
Yeah, not a bad, the bad husband that you want to knock off, perhaps. But the funny thing, like I said, when I released tea charms and it's like the modern day forms is no, we don't often cook them in cakes, and modern's made of more nickel and other metal, and or steel, some forms of steel, but we use what we call casting sheets, and again the casting sheets are like life wheels and very probing questions of where you cast your charms and what they land on. Again, is all about reading symbols. Like quite often I'd cast charms before I have a client here, and you do your meditations, you do your blessings before a client comes in, and I think, okay, what is their sole purpose that they need to know information today? So, and quite often I'll cast charms, and I leave those charms for that person till they're sitting, and I will go through that with them before they open their mouth. So, and it's just basically placing a few charms out on the table. It's no point getting really caught up what is upside down or what's pointing. Sometimes pointing to things are very important with the charms, but I actually pay more attention with charms if it's actually linking with something. So if two charms were sitting on top of each other, or they're actually caught like a lion. I had one the other day, lion caught in the middle of a ring. So they're important of the linking. But again, it's just symbolic divination. So,
yeah. And now, Terry had mentioned, and I know you answered this already, she was just like, how was it that you could narrow things down to, like 45 or 54 cards when there's probably upwards of like 600 or more symbols?
Yeah, the combinations. What I did is when I first started